Vegas is probably still the team to beat in the Pacific, but who got better and who got worse in the Pacific?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at The Reef, my blog about the San Jose Sharks with a focus on Sharks prospects. Also, co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do, just follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to kind of take a bigger step back and look at the Pacific Division and see kind of what everyone else did, kind of peek around the neighborhood, see how everyone else is setting up their decorations for the season. And that way we can kind of know what to expect for the Sharks. So we're going to be looking at how each team made some of their big additions and subtractions of the summer and kind of the big questions for each team that they're going to try to answer. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner, so visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. All right. So yeah, I wanted to, again, very Sharks focused, right? That's what we do. We talk Sharks, but again, it's nice to see what everyone else is doing, right? Because yes, while the Sharks are probably not going to be contending for a playoff spot, you still want to know what the rest of the Pacific is up to, right? Because you do got to play them a lot, and eventually you're going to start to hopefully, if you want to jump out of the basement, you got to kind of see what everyone else is doing and kind of see which teams might be ripe for the pickings. So I do have a couple teams in mind that I'm going to kind of circle as we go through as teams that I think the Sharks could potentially finish above this season. But we're going to go in order in how the teams finished last year and with the best team in the Pacific, and that is your defending Pacific Division champion, the Vegas Golden Knights, who had a interesting summer, as they always do, right? This team is built to, like, that is their whole motto, and we're going to be aggressive. We're going to, until the wheels fall off this thing, we're going to continue to add pieces, and they got the big fish this season, right? Trading for Mitch Marner, a sign and trade for Mitch Marner, where they got him locked into a massive 8-year deal at $12 million. So let's look at what else Vegas did this summer. So they also traded for Jeremy Lauzon and Colton Sissons. And like I said, adding Mitch Marner. So Mitch Marner, 100-point player, a guy who's been a star in the NHL. But of course, there's always been questions about Marner when it comes to playoff time in all of Toronto, right? What happens whenever it turns spring in Toronto? They always wilt in the playoffs. For Vegas, they did lose some big pieces: Nicholas Hague, Victor Olofsson, Nicholas Waugh, and then Ilya Samsonov. All those players no longer with the team. They did also defensively, they did lose a big piece, not because of he's just not on the roster anymore, but because of injury, and that's Alexander Pietrangelo, who's basically not expected to play hockey anymore. Not retired, just like Logan Couture, but he's going to be their LTIR candidate who's going to go on, and magically all the numbers work for Vegas, who is currently right now $7.6 million over the cap. Pietrangelo and his $8.8 million contract. Again, they will fit that in and Vegas will be cap compliant. But I think my big question for Vegas is yes, right? You still have, you added Mitch Marner. You still have Jack Eichel, who's going to need a new contract here soon. Mark Stone, Tomas Hertl, plenty of star powered in the forward group, but the defense kind of took some hits, right? Pietrangelo, like I said, gone. You lost some pieces as well with some of the other players, with Waugh and Haig, who've been here for a while. And I do have kind of some questions about the defense. And I do think that they're going to be able to outscore a lot of their problems. And I do believe in the structure in Vegas whenever they kind of gets to the playoffs. But that for me is kind of the big question is, can the defense still be as impactful now that you lost a lot of pieces there, and including Pietrangelo, who's a massive part. So we'll see what Vegas does, right? They're going to be aggressive and they're going to try to fill holes there. And if they have to trade picks and prospects, they'll trade picks and prospects to get it done. But I still think going into this season, Vegas is probably still going to be the team to beat. Stone will take his yearly sabbatical at some point to try to make sure he's healthy for the playoffs. But I think they've added a lot of, adding Mitch Marner, that's a game-changing player. And we saw Jack Eichel had they can't do anything. He's not a winner, in Buffalo. He gets here. What do? Right. So they win the cup within 2 years of him getting here. So not to say I think Vegas is going to win the cup this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if this time next year where Mitch Marner is kind of shedding that loser kind of stink on him as Vegas goes in a long, potentially long playoff run. So the second team who in the division last year was the LA Kings. Kings had a busy off season. They added Joel Armia, Samuel Bolduc, our good friend Cody Ceci, Brian Dumoulin, Anton Forsberg, and Corey Perry, noted pest, with some big subtractions, including Vladislav Gavrikov, who went over to the Rangers, Tanner Jeannot, Caleb Jones, Big Save Dave Ritchie, and then Jordan Spence. So they really kind of focused on revamping their blue line. And I think this really kind of opens up a path for Brandt Clarke to kind of take on a bigger role now that Jordan Spence is over in Ottawa. But my big question for the Kings is, does any of this matter? Because are you going to be able to get out of the first round, right? This is a team that the regular season we've gotten to the point with the Kings where the regular season just doesn't matter because you get to the playoffs, right? And you get smacked by the Oilers in the first round every year. And is this just all going to have Groundhog Day again, right? Where you expect the Kings to have a good season. I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were last year because of some of the changes they made on defensively. But is the regular season not matter because you're gonna get to the playoffs? You're probably gonna have to play Edmonton again, and what's probably gonna happen in the first round of the playoffs next year is Edmonton's probably gonna beat LA because they just have more star power, right? And yes, Edmonton's goalie. We'll talk about Edmonton here in a little bit. Edmonton's goaltending situation is still Edmonton's goaltending situation, but right when you have McDavid and you have Draisaitl and you have some of the star power that Edmonton has, I don't know, man. It feels like the Kings are very much kind of in this Groundhog Day where they're just every year is going to be the same thing until it's just not at some point. So I do like with their team. They, I expect Quentin Byfield to take another big step this year. With them, I'm also kind of curious to see how Drew Doughty, who missed some time, missed a good chunk of the time last year and was kind of a little meh when he came back, but hopefully for him, not hopefully for the Sharks, but hopefully for him, he can kind of get back to being Drew Doughty-esque. Corey Perry playing on the Kings is just hilarious. So I guess they're going to continue to. Maybe the Corey Perry thing happens where they get to the Stanley Cup finals and then lose there. The goaltending, Darcy Kemper, I think had a really, much better than expected year last year. We'll see what Anton Forsberg. I think that's a pretty solid signing for them. I know a lot of Sharks fans wanted San Jose to go after Forsberg to be the backup behind Askarov. So, I think this Kings team will be pretty good. I don't know if they finish second in the division again. And the regular season, it just feels like it doesn't matter because, right, you're just going to get to the playoffs. And I don't know if they have the horses to beat Edmonton, even with all the changes that Edmonton have, and we're going to talk about Edmonton here in a second. I'm still hesitant with this Kings team and where they're ceiling as a team. So we're going to talk about Edmonton here and look at kind of the creamy middle of the Pacific and how that kind of shakes out and which team I think is set to have a major regression here. So we'll talk about that in just 1 second. NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Great thing about FanDuel is it's super easy to jump in. They have player props, which are always super fun. Right? It's fun to root for cool players to do cool things. They have same game parlays, and you can even jump into live action as the game unfolds. And it makes everything more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keep an eye on your fancy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to Sundays. So if you're ready to start playing, download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. All right, guys, before we continue, I do have an important request from you. Lockdown wants to hear from you. We're putting together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast like this one. I hope I'm your favorite podcast, or at least one of your favorite podcasts, even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like and what you don't like and answer questions about our advertising. So go to lockdownpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping out. All right, continuing our tour of the Pacific, Edmonton, who lost, of course, in the Stanley Cup Finals, second year in a row, has big questions about Connor McDavid resigning. It's hard for me to imagine not like Connor McDavid elsewhere. I think he resigns. If I was an Edmonton fan, I would, of course, your hands over the panic button, but I think it figures itself out. But let's look at what they did this offseason. They traded for Isaac Howard. They signed Curtis Lazard, Andrew Mangiapane, and Matt Tompkins. They lost Victor Arvidsson, Connor Brown, Drake Kagula, Evander Kane, John Klingberg, Corey Perry, and Jeff Skinner. A couple of those names look familiar, Sharks fans. I think for Edmonton, right, you still have your core guys, right? Like it's McDavid, it's Draisaitl. They paid Evan Bouchard. You still have your core guys. All that's fine. Like those guys are going to do their thing. Can they solve the goaltending, right? That's the big question, because if they can get consistently good goaltending, this team is extremely talented and could win the whole thing, right? I mean, we saw this team go to the finals the last 2 seasons, take the Panthers to game 7 2 years ago. But the goaltending is just so fluky with this team. And you wonder if they could do it all over again if they're the ones making the Mackenzie Blackwood trade instead of Colorado, right? We saw how aggressive Colorado was last year, revamping their goaltending on the fly. And yes, they lost in the first round to the Dallas Stars, but a lot of people kind of pegged that as myself included, that's the best first round matchup of the entire playoffs, right? And if Dallas had gotten a better, or if Colorado had gotten a better seeding or whatever, it broke differently, there's a real chance that we're talking about Colorado versus Edmonton in the Western Conference Finals, and whoever wins that is playing for the very easy world where Colorado is not losing in the first round to Dallas. And even that went 7. That was an amazing series, one of the best series in the entire playoffs last year, right? But for Edmonton, I think though it's trying to solve your goaltending, and whether you believe in Stuart Skinner or whatever it is, trying to figure out do we need to move? it's poop or get off the pot at this point, I think, with Stuart Skinner, right? And especially a guy who's going to the last year of his contract, is going to be in UFA next year and is probably going to be looking for a big raise. And you have guys like Matthias Ekholm, Jake Wallman, who are both going to need new contracts, or we'll see if Ekholm, but like all those guys are coming off contracts. And of course, right, Connor McDavid contract hanging above everything. Again, I'm not worried about the McDavid contract, but I think for Edmonton, it just comes down to goaltending. And if they can find a reliable goaltender who can take them to the promised land. So the fourth team in the Pacific last year, the team that I am circling as a major regression candidate, your Calgary Flames. They did nada this offseason. Like, I mean, nada. They signed Ivan Provisov, the goalie, to take their place of Dan Vladar, who left this year. And then Anthony Mantha also left. So that's it. The team with the, like, one of the worst teams in the NHL when it came to scoring goals this last season, like near the bottom of the league, did not go out and find more goal scoring. And yes, I know free agency was a bit of a dud, but nothing, nada, no, like at least nothing where you're like, this guy, like potential, you know? Yeah, the Flames, their big question is, can they do it again? And I'm going to say probably not. Dustin Wolf, amazing last year. And it's not to say I think Dustin Wolf can't repeat what he did last year, right? I mean, he was second in the Calder votes, like nearly dragged the Flames kicking and screaming into the playoffs. But you got to score goals, man. Like, I know defense wins championships, et cetera, but like you got to score goals. And I think that's a lot to ask to play that style of hockey, that like we have to win every game 2-1. I feel like your ceiling is very low. You're asking a lot of perfection, and this team has regression written all over it to me. I think this is, if you look at a team in the Pacific where you're going like a team that just missed the playoffs to a team that could be picking very, very high in the draft next year, this is the team I think where you look at and go, yeah, like and there's talk of them potentially, trading, like they have players that they might be trading this sometime this season, right? You hear, Rasmus Anderson, who's going into the last year of his deal, like he's potentially out the door at some point. I assume Vegas is going to be all over that because that's what Vegas does. Mikael Backlund, like, is in the last year of his deal. I know he's a bit older player, but like this roster is like sneaky old. I know you have like Matt Coronado on it. Traded for like Joel Farabee, and you're waiting for Connor Zary, like deals and stuff like that. But Zane Parekh is probably going to be on the roster, which is cool. But yeah, man, this one you circle. This is the one I'm circling as like your regression. Like this team feels like, if you want to pick a team where the Sharks might be able to finish, especially if Dustin Wolf misses any time, this thing is over for Calgary. So a team that is, I think, has the biggest, like, highest ceiling and lowest floor. Like, you could tell me Vancouver Canucks finished third in the division, and I could totally believe it. And you could tell me the Vancouver Canucks finished sixth in the division, and I could totally believe it. And Vancouver, because of Vancouver, their offseason additions, Pierre Olivier Joseph, they traded for Vander Kane, Ilya Salvanov, excuse me. They lost Noah Juleson, Dakota Joshua, and Pius Suter. Pius Suter one still hurts, man. I wish the Sharks were in on that. The big question for Vancouver is, can you do something around Quinn Hughes, right? Quinn Hughes, like talking to our, we're kind of looking at the numbers and talking to our friends over at Locked On Canucks, like Quinn Hughes is the difference between the Canucks being like one of the worst teams in the NHL. Like if you look at when he's on the ice versus when he's not, it is like Sharks level bad compared to like a normal team. Like he is that important to them, right? And there's going to be rumors of him, going to potentially New Jersey to play with his brothers. This team is. I don't know what this team is. Like this is one of those teams where I want, like, a month into the season, I'm really interested in like checking in and seeing how this team is doing, right? They traded JT Miller off season or during the season last year. You paid Elias Pettersson all this money and you're kind of expecting him to be the guy, and he just hasn't been the guy the last couple seasons. Brock Besser, who felt like he was out the door, decides to re-sign at the very last minute. This Thatcher Demko, like, can he stay healthy? You have a lot of money tied up in your goaltending for the next several years. It's like $10 million in goaltending right now, and then that's going to bump up to like $13 million when Thatcher Demko's new deal kicks in for 26-27 season. What is this team, man? That's my question. What is this team? What are they trying to do? Because I have no idea. Again, this is the highest variance team. Like you could talk me into them being third. Like Elias Pettersson gets back to being a 100-point player. Quinn Hughes is awesome. Thatcher Demko refines his game. You can see the path, right? All those things happen. Like this is going to be a really good team. Thatcher Demko can't stay healthy. Elias Pettersson is just not that guy. Quinn Hughes is unhappy. This is one of the worst teams potentially in the Pacific. Like there's just so many variables with this team and what they're going to be. So, I'm really, as a hockey fan, the Vancouver experience intrigues me. So, we're going to finish up here with some of the teams that are looking to make a jump, including the Anaheim Ducks, and if they can push for the playoffs. So we'll get to that in just 1 second. I've been meaning to tell you about my new favorite jeanswear brand, Doer. I've been living in their performance denim straight fit. I'm actually wearing them right now. They're that comfy. Honestly, they've completely changed the game for me. And right now, the timing couldn't be better. Doer's opening a brand new store in Hayes Valley on August 29th. Let me tell you why it's worth making the trip. I've been wearing my Doer jeans to work. Again, literally wearing them right now. They're super comfortable, 5 times the stretch of traditional denim to get the perfect fit without feeling restricted. Doer combines classic jeanswear style with the comfort and performance of athletic wear without sacrificing style. And Doer will be opening a brand new store in Hayes Valley on August 29th. Head on over to 567 Hayes Street and mention my code LOCKEDONSF in store for 15% off your first order, or go to shopdoer.com/lockedonsf. That's DUER for 15% off online. Trust me, once you try them, you'll never want to wear anything else. All right, guys. Big time moment here at Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV presents College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson. That's big guy, like little coach of not once, twice Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. All right, let us get to the Ducks. So the Ducks, again, I was actually surprised. I forgot that they finished ahead of the Kraken, but big season for the Ducks, right? You hired Joel Quenneville. Questions about that, right? Especially with how things ended with Chicago and Florida. We'll see there, right, how that goes. But just like on the ice, you're hoping that's an improvement with Joel Quenneville. But as my friend Jay from Locked On Blue Jackets said, I want to see what happens when Quenneville doesn't get to coach 6 Hall of Famers. So we'll see. But the Ducks, kind of a weird offseason as well, because the Ducks can never have a normal offseason. signed Mikael Granlund. They traded for Chris Kreider. They got Peter Mrazek, and then they Ryan Poling as well. They lost John Gibson, which finally feels like it's been forever. We've been waiting for the John Gibson trade. Isaac Lundstrom, and they traded Trevor Zegras. So with the Ducks, right? You still have the Mason McTavish situation, which again, can you just be normal Ducks? Just pay your young players. I don't know. It boggles the mind. Why did they did this with Trevor Zegras, right? They waited for Trevor Zegras. They gave him a 2-year deal. And yes, Trevor Zegras clearly didn't work out for them. But how much of that was maybe Zegras felt like the organization didn't believe him? Maybe the Ducks didn't actually believe in Zegras. Who knows, right? But you're kind of doing the same thing again with McTavish. So, question for the Ducks. Can they're exiting the basement. Can they make a push for the playoffs this year? And I don't know if they've got the horses quite yet. I mean, this team is very young, does have a lot of interesting players and a lot of high picks, right? As they have been picking high over the past couple seasons. I think for them, it comes down to the defense and how this kind of shakes out. Yes, you have Trouba and Gudas, who are both kind of the leaders back there, veteran guys, but Jackson Combe broke out last year, right? You have Pavel Mintyukov, you have Olin Zellweger, you have Tristan Leno, 3 young guys who are going to be pushing for ice time here. If those guys can kind of mature on the fly, the Ducks team's going to be really good. And if the older guys can kind of continue to hang on, Chris Kreider, I'm looking at you, and refine their game, I think this team can make a push for the playoffs. Do I think they make the playoffs this year? Probably not. You could talk me into it because the Pacific is so weird and they can maybe stack a bunch of wins against mediocre teams in the Pacific. But yeah, I mean, this Ducks team, I feel like they need to get out to a good start with all their players and, see how and Leo Carlson and Cutter Gauthier and Mason McTavish gets re-signed. Those guys got to kind of lead the way, and you're hoping those guys leading the way, and your Kreiders and your Granlunds and some of these other guys are kind of strong secondary pieces. At least that's what the hope is for the Ducks. So, and then the 7th team in the Pacific, Seattle Kraken, to Frederick Gaudreau, Ryan Lindgren, Mason Marchment, and Matt Murray, additions for them. They traded away Andre Burakovsky, and then Michael Asimont also left as well. This team does not excite. I'm not going to lie. This team just does not excite me, right? It feels like a team that is a lot of middle guys, right? A lot of guys in your middle six, but nothing really excites me. I like Matty Beniers. I think Capo Caco's got a chance to really shine now that he's going to have top line minutes and gets play with, in those type of situations. I think he can kind of have that, late breakout, post type breakout type of situation. But this team, it feels like you're getting 80, it's an 80-point team. This is what this team is. And if you're looking at teams for the Sharks to potentially finish above, again, a lot of stuff has to go Sharks' way, right? And the Sharks are probably the Sharks are still going to be considered the worst team in this division. But the Kraken are a team I'm kind of circling as okay, if Celebrini has a monster season and Misa hits the ground running and Askarov's as good as we expect, or as good as we hope him to be, and the defense can just kind of hang in there for a season and be an improvement on what we saw last year. A lot of ifs there, but this is a team that I'm also circling as okay, I think the Sharks ceiling is higher than the Kraken's because I think they just have more special players or players who can be potentially special in San Jose compared to Seattle. The floor, though, I mean, the Kraken are a professional team. They're gonna, They're going to play solid hockey every night, but I just think they're we're going to win every game 3-2 type of performance. And there's just not a lot of sizzle there in Seattle is my thing. So, but yeah, the two teams, if I'm picking two teams where I think that the Sharks have a chance to finish above, not saying they will, but two teams that I'm kind of looking at, Calgary, because one, they didn't do anything to score. Two, can Dustin Wolf do it again? I love Dustin Wolf. I think he's going to be a great player. That's just a lot to ask to have Dustin Wolf carry your franchise right now. And that's basically what's happening. So, and then, yeah, Calgary and Seattle are the two teams I'm looking at as potential. The Sharks just kind of keeping an eye on this, what they're doing over there. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back next week. Sunday night we'll have an episode. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok. Hans Moman, Cowabunga dudes. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Till next week. Bye, friends.